Can you give us a little bit of a description about what developments in the United Kingdom in the past 20, 30 years, probably going back even to the 60s?
Yeah, thank you for having me on your program. Angeli has eloquently and elegantly and intellectually expressed very, very well what's happening in the United Kingdom at the moment. If we go back to previous migrations, let's say the Jews coming out of Europe in the 1930s and 40s, where there was opposition to them by right-wing fascist groups who were, let's say, pro-Nazi. But the Jewish migration was escaping the horrors of Eastern Europe, as we know, and those people had no intention of taking over by stealth or other means British society. Similarly, in the 1960s, when the black population came over from the West Indies for economic purposes, those people had no intention of, or had the same ideology of the current wave of immigrants have. And although there was opposition to them because people don't like change, those two demographics integrated very well after a number of years into British society. However, this third wave of migration is very, very different and very, very sinister. And at first I would agree with Angeli, complicity is certainly now part of the process, but previously it was simply inertia. Combined with the fear of being called a racist if one didn't agree with this wave of immigrants coming over from Islamic countries, and the vast, vast majority being of young men between the ages, let's say, of 16 and 30 or 40, many of whom, if not all, had been indoctrinated with the with the Quranic ideology of how one should behave as a Muslim and what the end goal is once reaching the shores that they now find themselves in. Now, for the first, let's be realistic, from the 1980s maybe until very recently, there was inertia in British society. Not too many coming over, but we could see the changing face of certain cities in the United Kingdom. Some of Birmingham, Bradford, Rochdale, up north, and certain areas in London are now exclusively Muslim areas. The complicity comes with the power of those Muslims who have integrated well into British society into positions of power, whether local council or in government. And that's where the complicity comes in. And there hasn't been a challenge to this huge wave of male Muslim immigrants coming into the UK until now. A party, a newly formed party, perhaps no more than 3 or 4 years old, called the Reform Party, is now leading in the polls, and they are basically an anti-immigrant party. And just today, the leader of that party, Nigel Farage, gave a speech suggesting that he will deport 600,000 immigrants. Didn't use the name, didn't use the word Islam or Muslim, but we all know what he was referring to. Now, Donald Trump has successfully achieved that objective, which was in his manifesto, but it's very, very difficult for the United Kingdom because we don't have land borders, we have sea borders. And we have a huge number of people in academia, on the far left, in trades unions, who are very, very supportive of the immigrant population, which is frightening to me. The number of people coming over on boats, we don't know what their background is, whether they have criminal records or not. They throw their passports away, and most of them are coming via France. Now, France is a European country, a democracy, and the French are actually mocking the British because we have an agreement with the French. We actually pay them to stop the wave of immigrants coming over on boats, and the French make the occasional foray into bursting a dinghy, and that's about it. But there is an unstoppable tide, and unless the Reform Party in the United Kingdom get voted in, and unless they can achieve their objectives, I am afraid that by the year 2050, the Muslims will be the majority demographic within the United Kingdom, which is frightening given that I believe they have ulterior motives so eloquently expressed by Angeli previously. And if we just look at history, Afghanistan was a Buddhist country until Muslim colonialization. Iran was Zoroastrian before Islamic colonialization. Egypt was Coptic. Lebanon was Maronite. Iraq was Christian. And we've just seen through history how Islam has spread its tentacles, and I would suggest not for the benefit of the original indigenous populations, quite the reverse. So I fear that the United Kingdom may well become a Muslim majority country if the government, there certainly won't be a Labour or Conservative government, but perhaps a Reform government may change that dynamic. We'll see. But it's very frightening. And as Angeli quite rightly said, the vast majority of the immigrants coming over are men of ages between 18 and 40, let's say maybe 50, and no one knows what their backgrounds are or from whence they came. It is frightening, but a fight back has just begun. I fear it could be too late. I think we may be past the point of no return.
Interesting.
But having said that, if I said that on mainstream media, of course, or on social media, I would be labelled a right-wing fascist with Nazi views, etc., etc., etc. So it's very difficult to say what you feel without having these labels attached to you. But people are now standing up and being counted. I will say that a challenge has begun.